You know that feeling when someone close to you gives you a smile, but something about it just doesn't sit right. It's as if they're happy for you, but not really. What if I told you that this subtle shift in energy is actually the first sign of something much darker, something no one ever wants to admit? Someone close to you might secretly hate you. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your growth triggers something in them they can't face. I'm going to show you exactly how to spot the hidden signs of betrayal before it's too late. You're sitting with someone who's supposed to care about you. A friend, a brother, a partner. They laugh at your jokes, they nod when you talk. But something in your gut just won't settle. It's like you're being watched through glass. They're there, but they're not really there. And deep down, something tells you, this person does not wish you well. You're not paranoid. You're not imagining it. What you're feeling is what Carl Jung called the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche, where envy, resentment, and repressed hostility live, and the ugly truth. Some of the people closest to you are not rooting for you. Some of them are secretly hoping you fail. They won't say it, of course. That would ruin the image. But if you pay close attention, the signs are always there. Look, people rarely hate you for who you are. They hate you for what you represent. Your success, your confidence, your talent, those things expose their mediocrity. You don't need to attack them. Your mere existence feels like an insult. You want to know how deep this goes. Julius Caesar was assassinated by the very people he brought closest to him. Brutus, the man he trusted like a son, plunged the knife in without hesitation. Why? Because Caesar's power reminded them of their weakness. His rise was their fall. They couldn't stand in the light with him, so they dragged him into the dark. History repeats itself in whispers. It doesn't happen with swords anymore. It happens in boardrooms, at dinner tables, in text messages that go cold. It happens in compliments with a sharp edge. Wow, you're really doing great for someone like you. Subtle, polite. Poison, you've heard it. You just didn't want to admit what it meant. Why? Because facing the truth would mean confronting something most people can't handle. Not everyone who claps for you is happy for you. And more often than not, the applause is fake. You think that's dramatic. Ask anyone who's ever made it out of poverty, climbed the ranks, built something real. The hate doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the ones who knew you before. The ones who can't stand that you changed. Carl Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Well, here's the problem. Most people don't want to be transformed. They want to stay who they are, safe, unchallenged, comfortable in their smallness. And if being around you means confronting their limitations, they'll lash out, not with fists, with subtle sabotage, with silence, with fake smiles, with support that evaporates the second you step into the spotlight. They'll say you're selfish for pursuing your dreams, arrogant for thinking big. They'll call it concern, while they chip away at your confidence. That's not love. That's contempt with a mask on. And the ones who do it best are usually the ones closest to you. Because they know exactly where your wounds are. They watched you grow up. They saw your insecurities. They know how to hurt you without leaving a mark. See, this is where Jung and Machiavelli meet. Psychology and strategy. Because to survive in the real world, you have to stop confusing proximity with loyalty. Just because someone shares your last name, your bed, your bloodline, doesn't mean they want to see you win. Love and loyalty are not automatic. They are earned, chosen, tested. And hate. Hate is patient. Hate waits. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Who around you benefits if you stay small? Not who loves you. Not who says the right things. Not who hugs you at parties. Who benefits if you never grow? The answer will scare you, but it will also free you. Because once you see it, you can never unsee it. Let me tell you something no one wants to say out loud. The most dangerous enemy is the one who calls you brother. They'll never punch you. They'll never curse you out. That would be too obvious. No, they'll wound you quietly, subtly, strategically. They'll ask questions that sound innocent, but are laced with doubt. You sure you're ready for that promotion? You think she really likes you? Isn't that a bit much? And they'll wrap it all in concern. I'm just looking out for you. No offense, but I just don't want you to get hurt. Translation, they don't want you to rise, because your rise means they're falling behind. And in the twisted math of small minds, your success is their failure. Carl Jung understood this perfectly. He said the things people repress, their envy, their weakness, their shame, don't just disappear. They become part of the shadow, and when someone sees you thriving, their shadow wakes up. It whispers to them. It gnaws at them. It tells them they have to pull you down, not because they're evil, but because they're weak. Weak people can't admire. They can only resent. You want to know how to spot one? Tell them some good news. Watch their face, just for a second, before the words come out, before the fake. I'm so happy for you. There's a flicker, a pause, a shadow. That's the truth. Everything after that, theater. And here's the kicker, they might not even know they hate you. Hate isn't always conscious. Sometimes it shows up as passive aggression, as forgetfulness, as indifference. Sometimes it shows up as a joke they tell too many times, about your weight, your mistakes, your past. It's never just a joke. It's a dagger wrapped in laughter. Remember Napoleon? He rose from nothing, a Corsican outsider in a French elite world. But when he climbed to the top, when he became emperor, he didn't just face enemies abroad. He faced enemies in his own camp. His own marshals plotted behind his back. They feared how far he had come, not because he was wrong, but because he was right, and they weren't. It's always easier to betray a friend than a stranger, because with a stranger, you have no leverage. But with a friend, you know where to strike. The same thing happens today, every day. Look around. In your office, in your social circle, online. The ones closest to you are watching your every move, measuring themselves against your progress. You think it's harmless, but it's not, because envy isn't passive. It builds, it festers, and eventually it acts. In silence at first. They'll stop replying to your texts. They'll ghost your celebrations. They'll stop sharing your wins. They'll distance themselves just enough to stay innocent, but close enough to keep watching, because deep down they want to see you fail. It would comfort them. It would justify their own lack of courage. And here's the part that hurts. Some of them once did support you, but they didn't expect you to outgrow them. They liked you better when you were uncertain, when you needed them, when you were safe. Your growth triggered something in them, something primal. Carl Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And your success forces them to face it. You became the mirror, and they can't stand the reflection, so they attack the mirror instead. That's why the betrayals hurt so much. Because you thought they loved you for you, but they only loved the version of you that didn't make them feel small. You want to protect yourself. Stop thinking like a romantic. Start thinking like a strategist. Ask yourself who disappears when you shine. Who only shows up when you're struggling? Who laughs a little too hard when you lose? Don't confront them. Don't call them out. That's amateur. That's what they want. Drama, emotion, a scene. Because then you look like the problem. No, you stay silent, you observe, you adapt. Just like Machiavelli taught, never let your enemies know you've spotted them. Smile, play along, but never forget. Because once someone shows you that they can't stand your light, don't invite them into your glow. Your peace, your progress, your power, it is not public property. It is sacred, and not everyone deserves access, especially the ones who secretly hope you fall. You ever wonder why some people treat strangers better than they treat you? Think about it. You're there for them. You've picked them up when they were down. You've listened. You've stayed loyal. But the minute someone else walks in with a fake smile and a polished story, suddenly your loyalty is invisible. You're not appreciated. You're expected. That's not friendship. That's entitlement. And here's the truth you've been avoiding. People don't hate you because you did something wrong. They hate you because you remind them of everything they're not doing. You didn't hurt them. You awakened their shame. Carl Jung once said that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But most people don't want understanding. They want projection. It's easier to call you arrogant than admit they're insecure. It's easier to label you lucky than admit they're lazy. It's easier to hate you than fix themselves. So what do? They start playing the quiet game. They don't criticize you directly. They just stop showing up. They fade. They give you that half-hearted smile when you talk about your goals, and suddenly every win you share feels like a monologue. You're talking to a wall with a face. You feel it, that awkward pause, that empty, cool, the change in energy. You start second-guessing whether you could even share your happiness. You start shrinking. That's the effect of hidden hate. It's not corrosive. It's slow, invisible, but lethal. And here's the most dangerous part: it disguises itself as love. See, the people who secretly hate you don't walk around with signs. They laugh with you. They hug you. They tell you they're proud of you. But then they do the little things that cut deep. They exclude you from plans. They talk behind your back. They undermine you in rooms you're not in. Always just enough to doubt yourself, but never enough to accuse them. It's psychological warfare, and you're the battlefield. Even Caesar didn't see it coming. He was warned. Over and over again, beware the Ides of March. But like most people who rise, he believed that loyalty was permanent. That if you gave people glory, they'd give you gratitude. But gratitude fades. Envy does not. That's what Caesar forgot. And that's what you keep forgetting every time you excuse the disrespect. Every time you pretend not to notice the coldness, the subtle digs, the shift in tone when you talk about what's next. Wake up. This is not about drama. It's about survival. You can't afford to keep people around just because of shared history. You think that friend from high school deserves a seat at your table because they knew you back then. So what? They knew the old you. That doesn't mean they respect the new you. And in fact, the new you might be exactly why they can't stand being around you anymore. In corporate circles, it's the same story. You rise up the ladder and suddenly people get quiet. The jokes change. The energy shifts. They want the title. They just don't want to do the work. And watching you climb reminds them they didn't. In politics, it's worse. Henry Kissinger once observed that the reason university politics are so vicious is because the stakes are so small. In other words, the less power people have, the more they fight over scraps. That's what you're seeing around you. People clawing at each other not because you've taken anything from them, but because they have nothing else. You became the reminder, the symbol, the scapegoat. And they will dress it up however they want. They'll say you changed. Of course you changed. That's what growth looks like. They'll say you got confident, as if self-respect is a crime. They'll say you forgot where you came from. No, you just stopped living there. Let them talk. Let them hate. You're not here to be liked. You're here to build. But don't get it twisted. Being strategic doesn't mean being cold. It means being clear. Carl Jung said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Well, the same goes for people. Until you see their hidden motives, you'll keep calling it bad luck. Broken friendships, misunderstandings. It's not bad luck. It's sabotage. And you can't fix what you refuse to see. So stop making excuses for people who treat you like competition. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't ask real questions. Stop trying to heal people who are quietly hoping you fall apart. You don't owe them peace while they plot your war. You owe yourself clarity, boundaries, and silence where trust has died. Let them hate from a distance. You've heard people say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But what if your enemy is already close? What if they sit across from you at dinner, laugh at your jokes, hug your children? Most people don't want to believe this. It's too dark, too cynical. So they keep lying to themselves. They tell themselves, he would never do that. She's known me since we were kids. He's family. As if loyalty is built into time. It's not. Loyalty is a choice. A daily, painful, often thankless choice. And most people, they stop choosing the minute your shine threatens theirs. So let's stop pretending. Let's stop acting like you don't feel it. When they go quiet after you succeed. When their eyes glaze over while you speak. When they cheer louder for strangers than they ever have for you. You see it. You just don't want to believe it. Because believing it would mean admitting you've been walking unguarded in a battlefield. That the smile you trusted was a mask. That the comfort you felt was a trap. But here's the brutal truthing. What you refuse to see will destroy you. Not instantly, slowly. They won't break you with a single blow. They'll do it drip by drip. With silence, with indifference, with passive remarks that hollow out your confidence, with delays, excuses, accidental slip-ups, always just subtle enough to stay innocent. And you keep forgiving. You call it maturity, compassion, being the bigger person. But let me ask you, how much longer are you willing to bleed in the name of being understood? Caesar didn't die because of a foreign army. He died because he refused to believe that Brutus, the man he embraced, was sharpening a dagger. Carl Jung once warned that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But I'll take it one step further. The most dangerous thing is to accept everyone else blindly. You think you're being kind, noble, spiritual. But what you're really being is vulnerable to people who have already decided what they'll do to you the moment your back is turned. Let's bring this down to today. You think this is just ancient history? No, this is playing out in your DMs, in your family WhatsApp group, at your office, on your so-called supportive friend's Instagram story. They smile at you in real life, then roll their eyes at you in private. They offer help that never arrives. They chirred, but never louder than their own ego will allow. And here's where Machiavelli would laugh, because he knew most people don't act from principle. They act from interest. And when your success threatens their identity, their survival instinct kicks in. They don't want you to grow. Because if you grow, they have to change. And most people would rather kill what challenges them than evolve with it. So they'll drag you back into your old self. The insecure one, the needy one, harmless. The version of you they could handle, the version that did make them feel like a fraud. And you'll start to play small again, just to be liked, just to keep the peace. But here's what Carl Jung knew, and what Machiavelli weaponized. The only peace worth having is the one that doesn't cost your soul. So burn the mask, kill the illusion. Let the uncomfortable truth rise. If someone close to you secretly hates you, the worst thing you can do is pretend they don't. The second worst thing, try to fix it. You don't fix shadow. You don't fix resentment. You protect yourself from it strategically, quietly, permanently. No confrontation, no explanation, just space. And if they ask why, you smile and say, I've just been focusing on myself. They won't understand, because they never did. But you will. You'll understand that love isn't what people say. It's what they do when you're winning. Loyalty isn't a history, it's a present choice. And hate. Hate doesn't always scream. Sometimes it smiles, you want to be free. Then start looking past the words. Start listening to the silence. And most of all, start believing what you feel before it's too late. Because not all knives are held by strangers. Sometimes, the sharpest one is in the hand you trusted most.